Happy birthday, Arianna. It is the 7th of January 2018, and I hope to post one video every year on YouTube around the time of your birthday. I had previously been posting quite a lot of videos, and most of them were incredibly depressing, and I haven't bothered to go through them again, and I don't expect you to either because they're quite depressing. So what I plan to do is I want to sort of like do a YouTube post, sort of like just saying what I've been doing, what's happened in my life and how I've been feeling, just once a year, just to, I suppose just to sort of say what I've been doing and just to prove that I care, really. Anyway, I've written a script. I'm quite tired, so I'm probably gonna, all the words are probably going to get jumbled up, and I'm just going to talk nonsense at some point. But please bear with me. It's taken me quite a few months to do this because it's almost like a, sort of a diary that you keep, so to speak. And this is my review of 2017. Hello, Arianna. During the summer of 2017, I made the decision to not upload so many videos because I realised I was being far too miserable and negative, and felt it would be better to only upload a video once a year on or around the time of your birthday. Previously, I found that by having to relive certain things, this made me feel somewhat run down. In order to move on with my life, I felt it was important to minimalise certain patterns of behaviour. Just to recap, 2016 was not a very good year for me. Mum had a fall in her back garden in September while I was on holiday in Croatia. Sadly, my sister was also away, so neither of us were of any use. Mum was not very mobile after that, but things became much worse when she was rushed into hospital in November-December with bronchiectasis, which is a respiratory problem. Mum was in hospital over Christmas, and I have to say that the last 2 months of 2016 were probably the most depressing of my life. 2017 began, and it's fair to say, with Mum's respiratory problems and her recently becoming a wheelchair user, I had very low expectations for the year ahead. I just had no idea how much of a life I was going to have, not just in 2017, but indefinitely. I met up with my friends Rachel and Ben on New Year's Day, and we were talking about going on holiday to Tenerife in September. Even though I tried to remain positive during the conversation, in the back of my mind I kept thinking that planning something so far in advance was a waste of time because something was bound to go wrong. Rather belatedly, I joined the carer centre. Every Saturday I would have the opportunity to go and chat to other carers over a coffee. I found the people there to be very pleasant. It was good to offload and listen to those with similar experiences. In May 2017, I had a week off work. For some considerable time, I had this constant desire to visit you. But the more I thought about it, the more I talked myself out of it. Many a time I would go to bed and wake up having already talked myself out of the idea of coming to see you. But one day I got chatting to a couple of customers at work about sending gifts for your birthday and Christmas, and even sending birthday cards to myself for when it was your birthday. I never liked the idea. I felt that sending gifts to you was pointless, as I would have no idea whether you received them or if your mother had pretended they were from her. However, Easter was approaching, and this would be a great time to send you a gift. And it was at this moment the idea of me visiting you wouldn't go away. Page 1. I went to Thornton's and got them to ice a large Easter egg, and when it was the right time, I posted it to you. However, by tracking the parcel online, I'd become aware that the parcel hadn't been received and remained at the post office in Barry for a further 2 weeks, until your mum went there to retrieve it. Once the parcel had been received, I knew it was time to put the second part of the plan into action. In 2014, I briefly discussed with your mother about going to the Brecon Beacons, but because your mother and I fell out, it never materialised. I approached my friend Martina about travelling to Wales and told her that I was aware of what a stupid idea it was. I told her that I knew that there was so many things that could go wrong. You may not be there when I arrive. Your mum may call the police. You may be calling another person your dad. But even worse, you may reject me. I had tried to consider and prepare for all possibilities, but there was no way I could prepare for being rejected by you. In light of the possibility I may only see you for a short time, if at all, Martin and I made other arrangements to fill our time in Wales. We travelled to the Brecon Beacons on the Sunday, and the following day we went to the Doctor Who Museum in Cardiff. When we visited you in May, I was very nervous. I had no idea what I was walking into, and the only thing I had in my favour was the element of surprise, as no one knew we were coming. Your mum spotted us and made some remark that I wasn't supposed to be there, to which I responded by saying she was supposed to contact mediation with regards to me seeing you. She then said she had done, but as I'd heard nothing, I was entitled to believe she'd never contacted them at all. I couldn't see you when I arrived, although your mum did ask another child to come and get you. Sadly, you didn't come to me, and your mum said you were going through a shy phase. As I hadn't seen you for 18 months, I couldn't verify if this was true. Had your mum been saying bad things about me? Was she telling the truth? Or had you just become estranged from me? It could be a combination of all those things. Your mum did tell me you hadn't eaten your Easter egg because you had so many sweets already, which is fair enough. I had brought you a present with me, which were these Japanese Disney toys called Zum Zums, based on the animated film Beauty and the Beast. As the film came out after your 6th birthday, there was a very strong chance you wouldn't have this. You and your friends were entranced by these toys, and I was pleased I'd chosen well. However, there was still no interaction between you and I, and this was getting to me. Right, that's page 2. My mouth is dry and I need a drink. Ooh. Eventually I managed to get you on your own while you were riding a tricycle. I then started to cry as I explained to you that your mum and I didn't love each other. You then asked me how mum was, to which I responded that she wasn't very well. You then asked me if I was looking after her, and I said I was. She said she shared a cuddle, and I gave you a letter to give to your mum. And Martin and I left to drive to our hotel in Cardiff. The moment I got in the car, I remembered the last words you said to me about mum, and I broke down and cried. And I continued crying until we arrived in our hotel in Cardiff. The reason why I've just fumbled there is because while I was reading this, it popped into my head that I actually should have got my phone out and phoned your Nanny Bet, and got you to talk to her. But the thing is, I was so emotional at the time, I wasn't thinking of anything. I'll carry on. In July, I visited my In recent times, I've become emotional when discussing what you said to me to other people. I think about it a lot, but I struggle to talk about it without getting emotional. In July, I visited my agoraphobic friend Lindsay, who I hadn't seen since 2012. She is someone I've known since 1995, and I visited her for 2 nights. While I was there in the Norwich countryside, I relaxed and chilled out, and this was the best I'd felt for a while. A few days later, I came home. I had to cancel an arrangement I had due to Mum being ill, but I wasn't too upset about it. Around the same time, a 44-year-old Facebook friend had posted about being reunited with his biological mother after growing up with his adopted parents, and wrote about how well things had been going. This gave me a sense of hope for the future. Prior to the lead up to my holiday in Tenerife, I'd started to have a better rapport with my sister and believed I got through to her with regards to how bleak things had been for me, and I sensed an attitude change in her. She had spent more quality time with Mum and had been more reliable. I sent texts to her, often reminding her when I was going to, and the duration. I also reminded her of the doctor's appointment Mum needed to attend while I was away. I was finally looking forward to my holiday. I arrived in Tenerife on the evening of Saturday the 2nd of September and arrived home around 8 p.m. on Thursday the 7th of September. The holiday was somewhat of a mixed bag. There were 4 of us, with only Ben as my friend. Rachel is more of an acquaintance and Neil is her friend. It appeared quite quickly that it was 2 groups on the holiday sharing an apartment. Ben and I not sharing the same interests as Rachel and Neil, and vice versa. The first day was just about walking around Los Cristianos, getting our bearings. We did go on a whale watching tour, and this was something I had no interest in, but was happy to do because I wanted to chill out. Sadly, we developed problems in the evening when the company we booked a tour with had to cancel due to overbooking. This meant we had nothing planned for the following day, and Rachel and Neil did too much, so much time was lost. On the Monday, we split into groups, and much of the holiday was like that. And it's fair to say that Rachel and Neil wound me up a lot during the holiday, although when we split up into 2 groups, we both enjoyed the holiday, so although Tenerife should have been better, it was far from a disaster. When I came home on Thursday, I learned my sister and my niece Nicola had reverted to type. They only arrived on the Tuesday morning, and They only arrived on Tuesday morning and disappeared Wednesday evening once Mum had given them £100 each. I knew she'd given them money, but I wasn't aware of the full amount until over a month later, when Nicola later tapped Mum up for some more money to top up her electric and gas meter. I decided I'd had enough and contacted my nephew Bill. During the conversation, I learned Nicola was now addicted to heroin and had been for 2 years. I explained to Bill just how difficult it had been and how little support I was getting. It didn't help that earlier in the year, Mum rejected help from adult social services. Bill offered to help out, so at least the dark cloud I walked into when I arrived home from Tenerife appeared to have gone away, although for how long, who knows. The lead up to Halloween was difficult for me. We all have all kinds of examples here that will trigger multiple memories, from Halloween displays you come across in shops or to the costumes children wear, whether you see them in the street or when they come into the shop where I work. Then you have everything you see on Facebook, not just from what other people upload, but from what Facebook notifies me when I upload what I've uploaded in previous years. It's fair to say that from the beginning of October until New Year's Day, I'm at my most miserable. Mum and I fell out in November, but much of this was her fickle attitude to my sister Audrey. During one week, everything that could go wrong did go wrong. Some lads around 15 years old stole some eggs from our shop, then ran away. I then noticed them outside some flats, and I believed they were going to throw them at the nearby cars and residence windows. Next, I hear a sound of one of the shop's windows being hit, and then one hit me on the front of my neck. The kids laughed, and I felt humiliated. The next day, the branch manager and his assistant announced to the staff that they were relocating to the Midlands. Suddenly, this was more interesting than me being assaulted. Mum was also harassing me about getting a plumber in to replace the ball cock and buy a new electric fire. Under pressure, I fixed the fire but accidentally damaged the ball cock I was trying to clean. I ended up paying £80 for the plumber, but had Mum waited, I could have got someone qualified to do it for £20. Then Mum told me that Audrey and Bill might be staying here for Christmas Day, which she later denied, saying she hadn't said that, but accused me of preventing her from coming here because I was upset with her. I told Mum that it was Audrey who decides not to phone or come here and not me. Things started to improve just prior to my 2-day city break in Prague in December. Bill had been spending a bit of time here, and Mum's mood had changed and was a bit more upbeat. Sadly, my trip to Prague was a disaster. Martina and I had a disagreement on the first full evening we were there. I'm not sure I will ever explain to anyone how we managed to argue about a depressing singer called Leonard Cohen in an absinthe bar while being completely sober. The following day was even worse, but no one's fault. We went to a town called Kutna for the day, but the process of getting there was a nightmare. By the time we arrived there, we were both in a bad mood and had no desire to stay there and travel back to Prague. I had this daft idea of getting a Thai massage in the evening, which Martina thought was a good idea, and had one too. She only had a foot massage and was somewhat confused how they managed to touch her bottom. For a country that is landlocked, it's hard to understand how they could confuse her with a mermaid. My full massage was okay. I hadn't managed to sleep much while I was in the Czech Republic, so it wasn't until I came home was I able to recollect what we'd done. I became very depressed and I'd just become a couch potato for 2 days, just not wanting to do anything. I wasn't looking forward to returning to work due to a misunderstanding with a work colleague over issues at work related to the new manager. However, the issue was resolved after an apology I received the moment I arrived at work, and my mood was much improved. Sorry, my mouth's going dry. Prior to travelling to Prague, I made a Christmas cake as part of the cookery course at the Carer Centre. On the morning of the day I flew to Prague, I decorated the cake with your name and the year on it. For someone without a creative bone in their body or any cooking skills, I can't stress just how difficult that cake was to decorate. Mum had the idea this makes no sense. Mum had this idea to turn the photo I took into a Christmas card and send it to you. I told Mum I wasn't comfortable with the idea, but as this was something from her, I let her go ahead with it. I sent the card to you, and it was no great surprise to me when Christmas and New Year passed without any response. If anything, I was reminded of something I'd previously forgotten. If your mum's refusal for access was because of me, then what had my mum done wrong? I've not been the only person who've been affected by being separated by you. When a mum was in better health and more mobile, she would frequently see things in shops she wanted to buy for you for Christmas. They were immediately put back on the shelf once she realised, we're not in your life anymore. Now I'm going to stop there because I need to show you something. I don't know if you can really see that. Unfortunately, it's somewhat back to front. But what it actually says, it is actually I took a photo and I turned it into a Christmas card. Obviously, this is just a photo, not the Christmas card. But it's actually got the words Arianna on it, and it's a Christmas cake with marzipan and fondant icing on, and it's got 2017 on. Even though it's back to front, or it looks back to front, I'm not actually sure really. It might be alright once you watch this, I don't know. The 2 looks like a Z, and that is because the person I borrowed the number cutters from, or the letter cutters from, did not have any numbers, so I had to improvise. But I sent you a card from Mum, and we received no acknowledgement. So your mum would say she never received anything, but then, does it really matter? We've not been going anywhere, we've always been here. Anyway, Christmas and New Year was quiet for me. Martina was in Spain seeing her family, and Ben was either with his dad in Reigate, Surrey, or with his mum on the Isle of Wight. Aside from New Year's Eve and New Year's Day, I never saw him. I didn't enjoy this period of time. Once my Christmas presents had been opened and the dinner had been prepared and eaten, most of the time was very boring. However, I wasn't in any great hurry to return to work. Most of my mind was preoccupied with organising a holiday for the 3 of us to go to Lanzarote in 2018. The biggest surprise of Christmas was my sister buying me some aftershave and a large bottle of Baileys costing over £50. I don't think she spent that amount on me collectively in over 5 years. I should also mention that Mum attended knee school at Queen Alexandra Hospital. This was a prelude to what would happen should Mum get a knee replacement. Mum had difficulty hearing and seeing what was being said and was in pain all the time, so asked to leave. I was worried Mum leaving had blown her chances, but we had been given a book to read to prepare her for the operation. In December, we attended another appointment and was told she would hear in 3 months when we would get a date for the operation. So some good news to look forward to for 2018. Well, that is pretty much a summary of the year, really. I wasn't as depressed at being separated from you around Christmas as I thought it would be. I don't know, maybe time is a great healer. So, that's all there is, really. I really don't know if this is a good idea or not, but I do feel that I know I have to do something, and this is the best I can come up with. I know it's a little bit boring me just talking to you when I'm reading from a piece of paper, but trying to sort of remember things, from memory, things might flow better, but I leave out so much. That's it, really. Happy birthday. Love, Dad.